This is nothing new. This is probably like a really tired argument, just coming out of the WNBA. I'm not going to give this too much attention. I'm going to try to keep this short because I just think this argument is kind of like not moot, but it's tired, but it's not tired for the reasons a lot of people are saying it's tired. I think this argument is tired because it's people saying this and then reinforcing it as if it's fact, but it's just a hint of willful ignorance. That's all it is. The people that are saying it and the people that are recycling this argument, they're just willfully ignorant. Like they're not looking to be educated on anything. Most of the time people say these things, they're not looking to be educated on something, or they're not going to be the people that if proven wrong, they're going to be like, "Oh shit, I was wrong about that. My bad. Sorry." It's not those people, right? The problem is when these people reinforce these arguments, and not even this Caitlin Clark type argument, but when they reinforce an argument, my problem is they reinforce it to the point where now here come people that have paid no attention to any part of this topic that's being talked about, and they side with the argument that's the loudest, right? It's not even that the argument is right, but whatever is mainstream, they side with it. So that's basically Charles Barkley like talking about players hating on Caitlin Clark.
You women out there, y'all petty, man. Hey, LeBron, you're 100% right on these girls hating on Caitlin Clark. Y'all petty, girls. I expect men to be petty because we're the most insecure group in the world.
Oh, you are.
Y'all should be thanking that girl for getting y'all ass private charters, all the money and visibility she bringing to the WNBA. Don't be petty like dudes. Listen, what she's accomplished, give her flowers. Stop being petty, all you women out there. She got y'all ass charters. She bringing all y'all this money to the table, but y'all being petty like dudes.
I couldn't tell you the last time I heard Charles Barkley say anything about the W. All of a sudden he says like players are hating on Caitlin Clark. It's just like, where are you all getting this? Why are you all piggybacking this argument? I haven't heard you mention anything about the WNBA. But all of a sudden it's like, oh, these players should be grateful. But it's like, again, I just think Charles Barkley's a perfect example of this. I think it's just a person hearing the back and forth and then siding with whatever side has caught the mainstream or just sounds louder. You get what I'm saying? It's not about whether they're right or wrong, because this is what I don't understand. I don't understand when people say people are hating on Caitlin Clark. My first question is, who's hating on Caitlin Clark? As someone who watches the W, someone who's been following Caitlin Clark a lot longer than some of y'all, a lot longer than some of her bandwagon fans, all the way to someone who's been watching the W for the past couple of years now, I've yet to hear or see someone hate on Caitlin Clark. Now, if they were targeting her in game, like headhunting her in game and shit, like I would call that out. I have no problem calling that out. If they were targeting her in game or some shit, trying to like make her look bad or something like that, I'd call that out. And I said even preseason, I said there are going to be some players that try to make a name off her by going up against her. But for the most part, I haven't even seen that either. A lot of people are saying that was Dejanay Carrington in like their first couple games against the Sun, but that's just how Dejanay plays. Anybody that watches her or anybody that watched her last year, Connecticut Sun fans especially, they said Dejanay should have been starting last season, right? Now she gets the starting spot now. So that's just how Dejanay has been playing. But it hasn't really been any particular player or any team that's like gone after Caitlin Clark. It's just like, yeah, take that. Like, we'll want you here. It's like, that's never happened. I've yet to see that. I've yet to see a player say, oh, like she's trash for this, or like actually hating on. I don't see it. And I've never heard any of the players step out of line and say something off the wall about Caitlin Clark. So this whole argument of players hating on Caitlin Clark, please link me to something about it. Now, let's talk about the DT situation, what Diana Taurasi said. All Diana Taurasi really said was there's going to be a growing phase in the W. That's all she said. For some reason, that got taken as hate and taken in a negative sense. But all she said was really there's going to be a growing phase in the WNBA for not just Caitlin Clark, but for all rookies. And we see that. So one, DT wasn't wrong. Right? Diana Taurasi wasn't wrong. We saw Caitlin Clark come in and struggle the first couple games. We saw her team struggle the first couple games. They're 1-5 right now. Right? So what DT said there's going to be a growing phase wasn't wrong. Let's look at other rookies. Angel's doing well. You got Cameron Brink's doing well. Rickea Jackson's doing well, but Rickea Jackson is struggling to get minutes on her team. You got other rookies struggling to get minutes on their team, and they're lotto picks. Right? You got Alyssa Pilley on a great Minnesota Lynx team sitting on the bench. Right? So what DT said, for some reason, for DT's statements to be taken as hate is wild because what she said is coming true and is true. Right? So that's kind of like the first argument. The second argument that these fans make is that the changes happening in the W right now are just all due to one player. That's so that's so wrong. Like it's just so misleading. It's like laughable. But again, I don't try to give a lot of credence to that argument because a lot of these people, they're first of all, they're not WNBA fans. I think that's what a lot of people forget. They're not WNBA fans. They're fans of Caitlin Clark. So why would you expect them to say anything differently? They're only there for Clark. Like when they say, oh, we're only here for Clark. Yeah, they're talking about that one section, that one group of fans, Midwestern, Iowa, whatever, that are only there for Clark. So they hear about all these changes finally happening in the W that they've heard the W's never had before. And they're just like, oh, it must be because of our girl. It must be because of her. And that's a stupid ass argument to make. Why? If those fans did a little bit of digging into the past couple of years in the WNBA, they would have seen that the WNBA has been growing and the trajectory has been shooting up. Okay, you don't break both your viewership records and you're not improving on something. So this year basically falls in line with the trajectory the WNBA has been growing in, right? Now, let's talk about the chartered flights and whatnot. Everyone's saying that's because of Caitlin Clark. I'd say that's true. But it's not just because of Caitlin Clark. That's where people are getting it fucked up. The reason it's true, it's like 50-50. It's half and half. The first reason is true. Oh, they're saying the W got chartered because of Caitlin Clark. The first reason that's true, I think two things. One, what was highlighted, and it's kind of the same thing in the NBA, but what was highlighted is when Caitlin Clark and star players of that nature, right, to have them on commercial flights is a big risk. Excuse me, it's a monumental risk, really, right? Because they're not just superstars or celebrities. They are also assets, right? There are companies investing in these players. So the risk and the safety and the security that you pull, like having these superstar, multi-million dollar, $1 million assets walking around just in plain space, that's a risk that some companies don't want to take. They want to also protect their assets, right? So they don't want any sort of involvement of anything stupid, right? So the first thing is the fact that it's highlighting, yo, you got superstars walking around these public places where anyone can see them. Imagine she gets bum rushed by a bunch of fans. It's the same reason the NBA doesn't fly commercial. I think the biggest impact Caitlin Clark brought with her to the WNBA was showing the W that, look, you just can't have a Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese just in the fucking airport like this. Is it like, yeah, you can have them travel with security, but it's a lot better to just put them on a charter, fly in private, right? So that's the first instance, right? It's kind of like you have to do this. You can't not do this. So in a way, Clark's presence is basically just forcing companies to move at a faster pace, right? So that's the first reason. The second reason I'm thinking, the TV deal that Caitlin Clark is also helping to generate. The views, the attention. I think the reason charter travel was implemented this season, and this came out of nowhere, I didn't know it was going to be implemented this season. But the other reason I think it was implemented this season was because the WNBA, and I think Delta also, was looking at their numbers like, oh, this is where we're going to be midway through the season. These are the numbers we're going to do at the end of the season. These are the numbers we're projected to do at the end of the season. Our next TV media deal, this is the bracket we're in. So now we can afford charter travel. So I think the W is kind of banking on where they're going to finish the season and the negotiations they're going to have with their next TV, with their next media deals. So I think those checks are fat enough that they could say, oh, we're doing charter travel this season, no problem. And that's due to Caitlin Clark and this amazing draft class and the attention and engagement they're bringing in. You get what I'm saying? So to me, it's half. That's the 50% that's due to Caitlin Clark, to Caitlin Clark's energy, to Caitlin Clark's attention, to the attention around Caitlin Clark. And not just Caitlin Clark, but also the amazing draft class, the Angel Reeses, the Alyssa Pillies, the Nika Mules. That draft class, right? Because we have to, for people keep saying it's just Caitlin Clark, you have to remember she came in with one of the best, if not arguably the best draft class in the W ever, right? That's what people tend to forget. Like, imagine, I would understand the arguments if it was just like, if it was a weak draft class, if it was just Caitlin Clark. It's like, bro, the second pick was Cameron Brink. Third pick was Camila Cardoso. The fourth pick was Rakia Jackson. Bro, you came in, Angel Reese going 7th. You came in an amazing draft class. So we can't just accredit it to just her anyway, right? But that's the 50% I'll give to the Caitlin Clark fan base and say, oh, she's making these changes. I'll give you that 50%. The other 50% is just the trajectory the W's been on. The W has been making moves, okay? I don't know, but the W's really... They did 2 million for their first game. Fever versus the Sun did 2 million viewers. That next TV deal is going to be insane. It's actually going to be crazy. So on top of them actually improving on their own, so let's exclude Clark and the draft class and the 2024 draft class out of this. Angel Reese, Rakia Jackson, Camila Cardoso, all of them. Let's exclude that. On their own, before this draft class, the WNBA was making moves. Right? What this draft class does now is make an even bigger wave for the W. Right? So now this TV deal is just like, oh, it has to be bigger. Because look at the numbers you're doing now. And on top of that, the next draft class, the 2025 draft class, is going to be just as insane. It's going to be a great follow. It might not be just as insane, but it's going to be a hell of a follow-up for the 2024 draft class. So the W is moving in this trajectory, and that's the 50%. Was the W actually handling business prior to this draft class, right? Because they were on a great trajectory. So I think this whole topic kind of needs to be retired, because it's not just to say that it's just one person just isn't even accurate. But again, I know why people are saying it's just one person, because they're just here for that one person. But if anyone takes a step back, looks at the bigger picture, you'll see that it's not just one person. It's a big ass wave this one person and this other superstar creating. Yes, it's a huge wave that this draft class created, but it's not just one thing leading to all these changes. A lot of pieces are falling in place at the right time. Because again, just me personally, I didn't even think this draft class was going to be this draft. I didn't think all these players were going to enter the WNBA just this past season. You get what I'm saying? So a lot of the pieces are falling into place for the W. To accredit that to one person, just one isn't fair, and also just not accurate and not even logical, really. So that's all I have to say about that. I don't think it has to be anything bigger. No one's hating on Caitlin Clark. She's not getting targeted in game. She's figuring out her game. Her team's figuring out her style of play. Everyone's figuring shit out at this point. Liberty figuring shit out. Kurt Miller doesn't play Rakia Jackson. Everyone's figuring stuff out. All right. But that's going to do it for this video. If you all enjoyed it, you know what to do. Subscribe if you're new. It's been your boy. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care. Peace.